welcome to Furious Driving, and today I am furiously driving a Volvo with 405 horsepower that'll do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. It's also partly electric and very, very frugal and sensible and safe and comfortable. Is this the ultimate Volvo? So today I am driving an S60 T8 hybrid, which means it is a front-wheel drive petrol 2-litre ordinary internal combustion car. However, it's also a rear-wheel drive electric car. Yes, that means it's a petrol electric hybrid, and a very nice one it is too. There are more new car reviews on the way, so do us both a favour and hit that subscribe button to keep up with the latest cars, as well as the usual retro rides at the end of the week. In some ways, this is full-on traditional Volvo. It's a big, solid saloon that feels really well made, very tough, very strong, very dependable. In other ways though, it's very modern and very new. It represents a number of firsts for Volvo. First of all, it's the first car built exclusively in their South Carolina Charleston plant, which means this is a global car coming out of North America. And secondly, this is the first of a new generation of Volvos that's going to be offered with no diesel option, only petrol electric hybrid, and ultimately I guess they're moving towards the full electric as they have promised. Now this is, believe it or not, the mid-size car. It actually feels really, really big on the road. But this is the mid-size car. The 60 range is their mid-size car. So we've got the S60 Saloon, we've got the XC60 SUV, and we've got the V60 Estate. It's all built on the same platform, which also underpins in a slightly lengthened version the 90 series, which is also Saloon, Estate, and SUV. So let's take a look around the outside and see if it is still a Volvo on the outside. Volvo's design language has evolved from very square to quite square with solid shoulders to this new sweeping style with long swoops and creases in the flanks, which has achieved something many of its rivals have failed at. With a bigger grille, the front is assertive and dynamic, but doesn't look overly aggressive or over the top, and looks fantastic in this fusion red. The lights, although nothing like previous generations, have something about them which still says Volvo, and that deep bumper, the splitter, the 19-inch wheels and the twin exhaust in the back are a subtle hint at the performance rather than shouting about it. The S60 starts from £39,160 for the B5 R-Design petrol, and the T8 all-wheel drive hybrid starts from £45,230. With its options, this car will be £53,380, including the tech pack for the Bowers & Wilkins and CarPlay and Android Auto, the lounge pack for the 360-degree bird's eye camera, sunroof and park pilot, as well as the driver assist pack, among others. Right, so I've now brought the car and plugged it into a domestic plug. So in under 2 hours, I will have gone from 15 miles of battery range to a full battery, giving me, well, enough to go to the shops and back, certainly, or at least make a good start, get onto the motorway on pure electric, to go further on an internal combustion charge where it's probably more suited. Now the interior of this car has taken a darker turn from the previous couple of generations of Volvo design, where we had the floating dashboard, the big open spaces behind it. It's very light, very airy, very Scandi chic for a long time. It has kept a high quality, very premium material feel to everything, but the way it now feels, you're sitting quite low in the seats, and this centre console is quite raised up and this is pushed forward, and it's all much darker materials. It's gone a bit more Nordic noir rather than the Scandic chic of previous couple of generations. As I say, it is very, very high quality materials and absolutely brimming with technology. As you look around and interact and touch everything, it all feels not only well made, but well made from good quality parts. So in front of you, you have a 12-inch full TFT screen, which shows all your speed information on the left, your range, power, that kind of stuff on the right hand side, and other information in the centre and at the bottom. To the left of that we have another large screen. This is a 9-inch full colour touch screen, so we've got radio just here, DAB of course, you can choose all this stuff, and we've constantly got ventilation and heating controls, so heated seats and fan speed. It's all down there at the bottom permanently. Swiping to the left gives you basic controls for the radio, the sound experience, apps, that kind of stuff. Over to the right gives you more detailed controls of the car's internal menus. For example, turn off lane keeping assist because that's annoying. How you control the other assist menus, there are many of them. Active bending lights, which is a cool thing. And possibly my favourite is the rear headrest fold. Now we have these big full height of the dashboard vents left and right of the screen, and then smaller ones over here mirroring them but in a smaller format over on the right, and they are lovely things in deep piano black with a little chrome insert, and all surrounded by this beautiful, it looks like machine turned aluminium but it's not, it's something else, I don't know what exactly, and this other shiny metal surrounding it, which all looks really beautiful, really, I hate to say the word premium, but it does kind of fit that bill, and that lifts the interior quite nicely. This pressed pattern in the metal is sort of repeated a little bit in the perforations of the metal grills. This car's got the Bowers & Wilkins speaker upgrade, which means not only do you get the door speakers, it means you also get the centre speaker up here in the middle of the dashboard. Now we've got the usual controls, auto lights, indicators on one side, auto wipers on the other. The steering wheel does of course have many controls all across it, with a new slightly streamlined Volvo logo here in the middle of the wheel, and down here below the big screen we do have a few basic controls. The volume, play, pause, forward, backward, and heated rear windows, and of course hazard warning lights. It would be nice if the fan controls were down here as well. That's just a little gripe of mine because I don't really like having heater ventilation controls hidden inside screen menus regardless how close they are to the surface. Now in the centre we have more piano black, we have more shiny chrome bits and satin bits, all looking very cool indeed. Two cup holders are concealed down here in the centre, so we have T-shell free in the middle. We also have room up here for a smorgasbord on the top of the dashboard, a big flat area. And moving down we have this gear shifter. Volvo's a little short stubby thing. It's a nice bit of stitched leather and satin metal. Park mode is on a button behind it. Then you have the start stop wheel, so you just turn that to turn it on, turn it also to turn it off. And the sides of that are covered in this knurled texture. It feels quite grippy, even though it is smooth metal. And in the same texture behind it is the drive mode drum wheel, little exercise wheel for your fingers to keep fit on whilst driving. Moving on back, we have park brake and auto on off for that. And then a little cubby hole. What you think is going to be a large cubby hole, but in fact it's quite shallow. It's just big enough for a wallet and a pair of glasses. You've got a 12-volt outlet, USB outlets, and a slot which looks like it might be for a phone, but it's actually slightly too small for an iPhone. Headroom is very good, and we do have a full panoramic roof above us. Sun has gone in now, of course. So if you like to see what's going on above you, then this is possibly the option for you. Now there's lots of room in the back of the car. Very comfortable seats. It's the same, I don't know if it's real leather or faux leather, being quite an environmentally sound company that Volvo are. It's called Napa, this colour scheme. The seats are, as in the front, quite soft, quite supportive, very tall backed as well, very tall headrests. Are well supported and well protected in the event of an accident. In terms of equipment in the back, we have heated rear seats left and right. We have a pair of USB-C power outlets here under this cover. We've got load nets, both seats. Now, interestingly, here in the centre, there's kind of a rubberised or hard rubbery footrest, so the centre passenger has to put the feet on there or work around it somehow. In the doors we've got door pockets, we've got soft padded armrests, as well as the warming facilities of the bum warmers. We've got B-post ventilation, so the rear seat passengers have got proper flowing air. So on a hot or cold day you've got nice actual ventilation. This is a really nice touch to have. Got more Bowers & Wilkins loveliness, and these beautiful sculpted rear door handles. Very nice indeed. There's So this boot does have under the bumper waggly foot opening, as well as using the handle on the boot and a button on the dashboard and a button on the key, so access to this 390 litre load space is easily achievable by whatever means you want. It's slightly larger on the non-hybrid cars, 436 litres I believe. You have got a little load net just there, 12 volt socket just there, and that's kind of your lot. As saloons go, it's quite usable space, so you should be okay with this. Under the floor, because it is the hybrid and we've got the motor on the rear axle, there's not a lot of space, so we've just got the inflaty kit for the tyres. Now, it is a rapid car. It's just over 300 horsepower from its 2 litre petrol engine and just under 100 horsepower from its rear-mounted, rear-wheel drive electric motor. So combined 400 horsepower is plenty. Of course, you can mix around the drive modes on the thing, so we can have constant all-wheel drive, so we can use the front and rear drive permanently if we want. That gives us more of an advantage in mountainous or slippery conditions. We've got pure eco drive. We can run the car only in electric if we think that's going to be suitable for the day. We've got everyday hybrid use, which is what we normally put it into. Set up our own individual preferences, or go for power if you want to go for lots and lots of power, which is what we do sometimes for being silly, obviously. Now, as I say, it does feel like a very big car. I feel very low down in this seat. I feel more like a sports car kind of driving position, but with lots of car over there and behind me somewhere else as well. And these A-pillars are very thick, and obviously the crash ratings are going to be phenomenally good. It's a Volvo, of course it is. They are a little bit thick to see through, and sometimes junctions can be a bit tricky thanks to that. In an age when almost everything is being dominated and stomped all over by SUVs, it is massively refreshing that Volvo have stepped forward and brought out this, the S60, an actual four-door saloon, an elegant, good-looking car. Okay, maybe I clickbaited you a little there. The regular T8 plug-in hybrid, which this is only 390 horsepower. It's the Polestar edition, which is actually just a smidge over 400. There's also a B5, which is a purely petrol only, which will be the biggest seller in the UK for the time being, which is a little bit cheaper, a little less powerful, and obviously doesn't have the benefits which the hybrid will enjoy. The hybrid battery isn't huge, but it will drive you about 40 miles or so, give or take, on pure electric. So if you're just shuffling to the shops and back, chances are you can do it on a full electric charge. Gosh, there's a Renault Koleos following us. Haven't seen one of those for a long time. The ride is very smooth, very quiet. Even with the engine running at road speed, it's hard to tell when you've moved from electric to petrol. You have to turn the radio off and really concentrate to see if the petrol engine is running. Now, there are a lot of menu items here on the screen, and you can do different things with the car charge. So currently I've just set it up to have the engine charging the hybrid battery, which so I will have more power when I get home and not have to worry about plugging it in so often. If I wanted to be purely green and I was running on green power at home, I could charge it exclusively that way. Now, obviously, being a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid of any kind, it's an automatic as the only option. Not something I'm a huge fan of, but it's very smooth, as they always are these days. It's 8 speeds and it shuffles up and down happily and you ignore it. It does have one minor irritation, which I think is probably a safety reason for doing it, and that is that you can't just drag it back like you would with a mechanical shifter. You have to move it back and then release, and move back and release, or forward and release and forward and release to go from neutral to drive or reverse, which is, I find, a little bit irritating and a little bit slow, but I'm sure you'd get used to it. Considering how fast this car is and how good the road holding is as well, the ride is sublime. They've somehow managed to get a bit of old school waftiness. If you drive an old Volvo 700 or 200, you will find yourself listing at around 45 degrees as you go through a corner like this one. This is cornering very, very flat, but at the same time, it doesn't feel harsh. It feels like I'm just wafting over the bumps. The suspension setup is a very clever compromise. Even on bad surfaces, it doesn't seem to crash or bang, and it doesn't seem to wallow through corners either. They've done something very clever. I don't know what, but they've done it right. The steering's light. The steering wheel is incredibly chunky, almost too chunky to hold comfortably. Lots of buttons on here. They're not really marked, so you have to do a bit of learning to figure out which does what. And there are menus ahoy on this car because it is absolutely loaded. The bird's eye view top-down camera is just one of them, which is actually really handy and very useful for parking or getting out of tight parking spaces. The car being, as I say, quite big and you sit quite low in the thing, so sometimes seeing out to the extremities can be awkward. That camera system makes it very easy indeed. Volvo are heading towards self-driving cars, and there is a embryonic version of that on this car called Pilot Assist. Now, Pilot Assist isn't standard in every car, but it takes radar guided cruise that bit further. Using front-facing cameras and radar, it will track the vehicle's speed in front, it will hold speed in lane and use the camera sensors to keep you in your lane as well. Now, as I always complain about on every single review, this car has got lane keeping assist, although if you turn it off, it does seem to stay off, which is a major benefit because a lot of new cars seem to have it reverting to turn on every time, whether you've turned it off or not. This one seems to stay off, which is a major benefit because on a road like this, honestly, it's more of a hindrance than it is a help. In fact, it can actually be quite dangerous. As well as being very comfortable on the road, it does grip well, so if you find a nice corner, you can throw the car through it and have a little bit of fun along the way. So, a brief summary. Things I like or love about the S60. First of all, I love the looks of it. I love the styling, and I love the fact that it's not an SUV. I love the fact that Volvo have given us a proper car, because there aren't enough of these being made anymore. Secondly, I love the ride and I love the handling. This is a really comfortable car to be in, so you can have a long drive in it and it will leave you feeling refreshed and comfortable at the end of it. But at the same time, it's sprightly enough that if you want to have some fun in a corner, you can throw it through a bend and enjoy the ride. And it is rapid, it is properly rapid. I do like the fact you've got the plug-in hybrid element, so if you want to be driving on electric for a short journey, you can do. So if you want to be eco-conscious, that's great, but at the same time though, if you're going on a long journey, you're not hamstrung by the terrible infrastructure of charging. So you have the best of both worlds there, really. Things I don't like about it are very few. It is a little hard to see the corners, but then the cameras are very good on it. I don't like automatics in general. This is very good, very smooth. I don't like that shifter. And I don't like that too much is on the screen. So I don't like having to go into a second menu to change my fan speed, for example. I just want a fan speed button there on the dashboard. This isn't just Volvo, this is too many car companies do this today. This isn't like the Volkswagens where you've got touch buttons on the dashboard as well, which don't really work, and then you've got menus with sub-menus to find things which should be really obvious on a button. This is, as menu systems go, this is done well. It's just I would prefer it not to be in a menu at all. This is a great looking car, subtle, elegant, lots of interesting design points. It's comfortable, well equipped, and it can shift and handle when it wants. And if you need more load space, the V60 estate would fit the bill perfectly. After all, that is what Volvos are known for. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this look around the S60. If you have, please smash the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell notification to see when the new videos are on the way. And join me again next time driving something completely different.